Okay, I'm joined now by Rapides Parish District Attorney Phillip Terrell. Now, Phil, just to give background to folks about you, you've been the DA there for the last 8 years. You're
Correct.
also an attorney, and you were a judge for 18 years. A regular judge, federal. What kind of judge were you?
A city court judge.
City court judge.
Yes,
And
sir.
are you from that area?
I am
You
born,
are.
yes,
Okay.
born and
Uh,
raised here.
I think the first question that most people will want to know is when you saw some of these videos that were leaked out of um, Cypress Arrow, Cane Corso, and canine training. What was your response when you saw these videos? What did you think?
Well, the videos are obviously troubling. I'm certain that I've seen I don't have not received a file from law enforcement, um, but what I've seen on the internet and the things that various people have sent to me, they're obviously troubling.
So you've seen, so that what we've seen so far are, I believe, two videos. We've seen the one with the cane Corso Phoenix in
Yes.
between the two women, Victoria Brimmer and Tina Frey. We've also seen a video where another dog is being pushed down to the ground. Have you seen additional videos other than that, other than those two?
I have not.
Okay. They were so the Rapides County Sheriff's Office, since you and I first talked, and I think it was that week where the videos just started circulating. They didn't have the probable cause to arrest. Hi, Teresa. They didn't have the probable cause to arrest her, arrest either Victoria or Tina at that point. But apparently, they got the probable cause because the case went to your office.
Well, the actually the case has not come to our office yet because they're not done with the investigation.
Okay.
They're still investigating. It is not uncommon for investigative agencies to take 3 weeks to a month to get a file to us. That's pretty standard. Our jail has about 11,000 bookings a year. We've got right now we have 119 people charged with homicides in pretrial detention now. So have a very busy docket. Sheriff's office and all the police agencies are very busy. I know I've spoken with the sheriff and with the detectives handling this case. I'm not at liberty to go into the direction that the case is going because I don't want to say anything that would prejudice the state's case, the prosecution case. I can tell you that what I've seen um, are the two videos personally, but I've not seen any of the sheriff's evidence. I've discussed it with the sheriff's deputies, and my assistant DA, who's going to be handling the prosecution, has met with them on more than one occasion. Um, but typically, what will happen when they present the file to us, the defendants were arrested for the charge that the sheriff's office thought was appropriate. In Louisiana, the district attorney makes the charge by either a grand jury indictment or a bill of information, which is the ways that cases get into prosecution in court. So typically, what we happens is we receive a file from law enforcement. We screen it to make sure that the facts alleged are appropriate to the crime that's charged. And that doesn't mean that if it's not, that there hadn't been a crime. It just may be something different, a different crime than what the police charged them for.
Okay, I want to just jump in there if I may for a minute,
Yes, sir.
because if you've read the comments, and they're all over social
Yes,
media, on my social
yes,
medias as well. All of the comments are like, get this person, get these people now. We need to have them jailed. I mean, a lot of them are like that, and especially when someone might look at what they believe to be
Yes.
true. I mean, I say allegations, accusations, because as you and I both know, and I've covered the court system and legal cases for nearly 30 years as a journalist, I cannot say myself, she did this, she did that, until, you know, a person is innocent until proven guilty. So a lot of people are saying, hey, why is this going so slow? Why are they not charged? Why are they not in jail? What's the deal here?
Well,
So can you understand that, and how do you respond to
absolutely, absolutely, and we face exactly the same situation in murder cases and any kind of violent crime. And to our office, to me personally, this is as serious as a crime against a person. But the defendants are still guaranteed their constitutional rights. I still have to be able to prove whatever charges we bring beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendants have hired an attorney. He is a very competent attorney. I know from speaking with him that the issue is going to be whether or not the the um, the methods used by the defendants were appropriate in industry standards. Our position certainly is going to be that they're not appropriate in any standard, under any standard. But that's going to be whether or not, as in any criminal case, probable cause is what the police have to arrest. We have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they committed whatever crime we allege. Under our law and under the Constitution, that's what the founding fathers fought the Revolutionary War for,
right?
was to protect us from unwarranted intrusion from government.
Okay, so
Clearly,
we're talking about timeline, and I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize,
it's
but
okay.
Zoom.
It's your show.
No, but thank you. So do you have an arraignment date yet, or no?
I don't even know, sir. Under I don't have any authority to do anything yet. I don't have a file. When I get an investigative file, then what we will do is we will screen it and we will determine what is the appropriate charge and how to charge, whether it be by bill of information or grand jury. Then once the person is in the event that there's sufficient evidence to go forward, then what we will do is we will charge the people under our system by bill of information or by grand jury indictment. They will have to most likely have to post another bond, be rearrested on whatever charges we charge, and then they'll receive a court date, an arraignment date.
Okay, just what you mentioned, the lawyer Tina Frey and Victoria. I hope I'm pronouncing it
Yes.
right. Brimer. Um, and it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, there's a lot of folks reaching out to me on social media. Brad Drell
Yes,
is their attorney, and
yes.
it is my understanding that Brad's father, so Mr. Drell's father, is a judge in your parish. Is that right?
He's a federal district judge. He's a
A federal.
senior status federal district judge, which means that he's semi-retired.
Okay. Some people are saying that because of Mr. Drell's father, that there could be some iffiness or something not so above board going on with this case. Would that be correct?
No, that would not be correct. The truth of the matter is, people say that in every case, uh, especially in a community the size of ours. Our parish is 125,000 people. Um, um, a lot of people know everybody, and there are plenty of people who think they have influence, and there are plenty of people with influence. And you know, I'm elected to try to do the right thing in every case, and that's what we attempt to do. Um, I'm I've never been I've, in the 8 years I've been here, I've never been contacted by Judge Drell on any case, and Judge Drell is has always exhibited the finest ethical and moral character, and his son happens to practice law here, as do a lot of federal judges' sons and daughters all over the country.
So
So,
you talked earlier about sufficient evidence. And when
yes,
you mentioned that term, that terminology, I could hear people in the background of my head, or animal advocates, or people who made comments say, "What do you mean sufficient evidence? Isn't that aren't those videos enough?" And I know from cases before this that the defendant might argue, "Hey, we don't know what happened before that video, we don't know what happened in that video." So that's common. I mean, that's common. But the thing is,
and
a
I've
lot of people will see that video right there and go, "That's animal abuse. That's animal abuse." Is it
and we
correct to
agree,
say
and we
that?
agree, and we, no, it's not. We agree with them 100% that what I personally agree 100% that what that portrays is animal abuse. However, the people still have the right to. They're not guilty yet, and they still have that. I have to my people in order to convict them. First, I have to get the tape into evidence. The next thing is there's going to be a defense, and I'm certain that what the defense will be is that this is appropriate. All right. And what I have to do is I have to convince all 12 jurors if it's a that that the people are guilty. One holdout it makes a mistrial. So therefore, what I expect this is going to be a battle of experts. I expect that they're going to have people to come to say because they've already told that Brad Drell's already told me that they found some people who say that these training methods are acceptable because of the aggressiveness of the dogs. That's not me saying that. That's the other side. So they get to tell a jury that. I get to tell a jury with my experts that this is not acceptable and ask the jury to look with their eyes and use their common sense to determine that it is unacceptable. So the there you know the, that's where we are.
Two counts each of was it aggravated cruelty to animals.
Yes.
If that holds true, and if they are found guilty, what does that mean as far as do you have any sentencing guidelines
We
if they
have
are
since
found guilty? And it's my understanding too that neither neither of the women are have ever been convicted of a crime before. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
That is
So we're
correct.
talking
And
about, so if we're talking about conviction here, we're also talking about a first time conviction for each of these women. So that plays a part in this as well. So I guess the two charges each, and then the fact that they've never been charged or convicted of anything before. How does that work? And explain, please.
well, one of the common misunderstandings that we have, the district attorney's office does not sentence anyone. We don't arrest anybody. We don't sentence anybody. We determine what is appropriate in terms of prosecution, and we prosecute or
Mhm.
not prosecute. So the sentencing is not up to us. The whatever the maximum sentence is on the charge that we end up, the charges that we end up in the event that the people are convicted, the judge has 100% authority to sentence. We get input. We get to say what we think. We get to have the victims come and tell the judge the problems that how this has affected them. But it's solely up to the judge in our state.
So there, if I'm hearing correctly, and I'm trying to read between the lines as well, there's a strong possibility here that neither of these women will face any jail time, especially after the Humane Society, the man who runs the Humane Society, he categorized it as a crime. He went on video and categorized it as a criminal.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he's backtracked on that. I don't know if he can say that because legally speaking, they have not been convicted of a crime.
You, we can say that absolutely correct. We can say all day long that we believe something is criminal. I frankly believe this is criminal, right? That doesn't mean a thing. What means something is if they plead guilty to a charge or if they're found guilty by a judge or a jury.
The Rapides County, the Rapides Parish Sheriff right now, is it your understanding that he knows or has any type of links, connection? I should say, does he know? I believe it's Mark, is it Mark Wood?
It's Mark Wood, yes, sir.
Right. Has Tina, from your knowledge, or what have you been able to glean from your community so far? Does Mr. Wood know Tina Frey? Because it seems like Tina Frey, you might say, is ingrained in the fabric of parts of Louisiana, if not all. Does he know her?
I don't know that. My impression is that he does not know her other than by sight. I don't know that I've ever met the lady.
But she was a reserve deputy. Tina Frey was a reserve deputy. Is that right?
That's my understanding. Yes, sir.
With the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Department. And is it your understanding that it was only until recently that she was dismissed, if you will, as a reserve deputy?
She was. My appreciation is when Sheriff Wood found out about this incident and he found out that she was a reserve deputy, they terminated her at that point. That's what I'm told.
And people say, hey, wait a minute. We've got Sheriff Wood, terminating her reserve deputy status, and then investigating the case. Some might say that's a conflict of interest.
Under our law, that is not a conflict of interest. Very commonly, in fact, since I've been district attorney, Sheriff Wood's has been sheriff about 2 years now. Before that, Sheriff Hilton and I'm trying to think how many. We've prosecuted probably, I want to say 6 or 7 sheriff's deputies for various crimes that they committed while they were sheriff's deputies. And they were arrested by the sheriff when they committed those crimes, like, you know, like, uh, uh, a battery on someone that they were trying to arrest, inappropriate use of force, or some kind of misappropriation of public money while in the sheriff's office. Also, we've done the same thing with other law enforcement agencies. Have arrested their people and we prosecuted them.
Who was the past sheriff for the parish?
Sheriff William Hilton.
Sheriff Hilton. And are you aware of any that he knew Tina Frey and that she worked as a reserve deputy under him?
I understand that she was hired during Sheriff Hilton's, or given a commission during Sheriff Hilton's administration.
What's a reserve deputy do for those people who aren't aware of that in the state of Louisiana? Is it a
I don't know.
title?
I don't I've
Okay.
never. I wouldn't know how to answer that other than to tell you that I don't think that they're paid. I think some of them work paid details, like at at McDonald's on the weekend or at
Right.
banks or things like that. But I don't know that for sure. You'd have to ask the sheriff.
Or
I don't.
maybe or possibly was one person wrote, that Tina Frey and her dogs had been to I don't know if it was then President Trump or President Trump on the election, Donald Trump on the election trail, but she's been there. She's had an upfront seat in huge events like that. That's what I was told by some viewers. I don't know. I was not there.
Nor do I.
Okay. So there have been several agencies. Well, I know that she's got, first of all, a lot of people saying that there's going to be no justice served here because she is so, like I said, Tina Frey is such a part of the infrastructure of that area. She's got her stickers, her decals on the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office, some of their vehicles. There's a video on TikTok with Simpson, and I know that's a smaller police department. Is it to the southwest of Lena? near Lena.
What's the name of it?
Simpson.
Simpson. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's in Vernon Parish. That's in
Okay.
another parish.
So there's in her TikTok, on her on Cena Frey's TikTok page, there's a vehicle. So have any other and I want to see this from you, have any other police agencies, local or the state police, acknowledged that they have or they have not worked with Tina Frey? I know there was is it Alexandria Police put out a press release saying that they've had 0 animals come through there from Tina Frey.
And that may well be, although that I'm given to understand that the sheriff's office uncovered that she did have a reserve Alexandria Police Commission. So, I don't know the answer to that. I
You
know that I've not
there's a
been
little
contacted by any other law enforcement agencies other than the sheriff's office in connection with this. But I do know that the sheriff's office relayed to me that she did have an Alexandria commission, or not a commission, but a reserve, whatever they call them.
okay.
She
So
had,
then
she
that
had
means
some document. They had some document where she had some affiliation with the Alexandria City Police.
okay. So that means that there could be more too. We just don't know at this
Could
point.
be
You
correct.
There's a lot of people on. I'm amazed these days at how many people can investigate just going on the internet for things. So there could be more agencies. So that's one thing to look under. But the other thing too is that Tina Frey is known for having Cypress Arrow be affiliated with so many different organizations. Are you going to be reaching out to those organizations as well to see, hey, just to get, I guess, to get all your I's dotted and all your T's crossed, just to make sure that there seems to be a whole lot of information, some might say, to be gathered in this whole process, and this may not just be about Cypress Arrow and the 1 or 2 videos that came
And
out.
that's precisely why law enforcement should not move too quickly. You should look at every avenue and every possible connection.
Okay, so what I'm getting from that is we talked about how she's, how she's part of the culture there, and it might not just be because there may be, we know it's been proven in the past that if you abuse a person or if you abuse an animal, that when we see it as the general public, if you will, that is probably not the first time that they have abused a person or an animal, or they abuse an animal first and then go on to a person. So I would imagine that you are reaching out and seeing if there are any other videos out there as far as any types of allegations, because we have to be sure, because you and I can both be sued. That's the thing. So we have to use our words carefully. That there could be more videos with more allegations, even though it might look to a regular viewer as abuse. There could be more videos of more allegations of animal abuse.
That's absolutely correct. And that's precisely why good law enforcement is careful and good law enforcement does thorough investigations. The thorough investigations take time. They always take more time than people, especially in an emotionally charged issue like this, than people think they should. Um, the there are many factors that go into charging people. As soon as we receive a file, and as soon as we start um, the charging procedure, our clock starts running, and we have certain time delays then. And if we don't have everything we need from law enforcement, or if there's some loose ends that we have to go chase down, that causes prosecution problems for a variety of reasons. So if you think about it, if you notice the FBI, the feds they sometimes investigate for a year before they make an arrest. That's obviously not what happened in this case, but careful investigation is extremely important in terms of the outcome of the prosecution. Because if you leave something unturned, that's the very thing that ends up torpedoing your case.
Okay, so we talked about the possibility of more videos, and of course, if people want to share them with you, they can call your office, email the videos, what have you.
They can, but it should go to law enforcement because under our system, the DA's office has no arrest authority.
Sheriff's office, Mark
Yeah,
Flood.
absolutely. They should go to the investigating agency. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Because under Louisiana law, the district attorney's office has no authority to arrest or the sentencing. Our only purpose is to determine what is appropriate for prosecution, if anything, and determine how to proceed on that. Now, that does not mean that we don't have input with the sheriff or the investigative agency. It does not mean we're not entitled to input with the judge after conviction in terms of the sentencing. We do. But our authority, the investigation needs to go through law enforcement instead of us, and then to us.
There is a lot of lack of trust that I'm seeing in comments, at least, as far as someone sharing a possible video of allegations of animal abuse. I believe some people wouldn't share that with the sheriff because they don't believe that this is going to be a fair and thorough investigation, just because Tina Frey is who she is and she owns Cypress Arrow. And again, we go back to she's ingrained in the culture there.
Well, that may well be the perception. I don't think that that's the perception in this community.
Okay.
I don't know the lady. Um, I don't think, I mean, you have to ask Sheriff Wood. I don't think that they have any type of relationship. I think that she was hired during the previous administration. I don't know anything about the circumstances of that. But I can tell you, as far as I'm concerned, and what I believe, talking to the detectives and to the sheriff, is we think that the sheriff thinks it obviously thinks there's enough to go forward to make the arrest.
Mhm.
My appreciation at this, all I know at this point is what what you've seen on the video, and the things that I've been told by the investigative agencies, and the things that I've been told by the attorney for the defendants.
Right.
So, I mean, frankly, I have to look at this as I do any other case, a murder case, a rape case, an armed robbery case, a theft case. Whatever the allegations are, I have to be able to prove whatever whatever charges we think fit the facts. I have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt each and every element of those.
Have you been able to find out who the person or persons are who leaked that video? Because Drell, Tina Frey's attorney, said that the motivation, and these are not his words, I'm just summarizing, that the motivation for these videos to be released is from an individual who was fired from Cypress Arrow and essentially wanted revenge. Have you been able to find that person or persons?
Okay. Not to be evasive, but I I think that probably that's something I should not discuss because I don't want to do anything that endangers our prosecution or the investigation.
Okay. Um, I I remember.
We're certainly aware of what you're talking about.
Okay.
I can't go into the specifics of that for a
Okay.
variety of reasons.
Okay. Thank you. I remember reading one message and it stuck out to me because the word was in all capital letters, and it just said, "Read me," and the word was egomaniacal. And the person was referring to Tina Frey. And the person basically said, in the beginning, it was about the dogs. It was about training the dogs. It was about making sure that they were good, that they were kept well, as a typical animal trainer or a breeder, if you will do for their animals. And the way it was written is that things progressed in that journey, if you will, from taking care of the dogs to realizing, whoa, these dogs and this training comes with a lot of power. And from there, it was like there was a light bulb that this person is saying, actually more than one person, went off in Tina Frey's head about, oh, where this is where the ego comes in. And oh, well, if I can do this, I can be linked. And you see these days how she is linked with so many canine organizations, and the relationship she has, reserve deputy at least on 2 forces, and there's other information too with other forces. And here I go with my organization is with this and with that and with this and with that. And then we come to a point where Tina Frey and Cypress Arrow might be known better for who they are and their organization than the dogs. We add with that allegations that there's money missing from several organizations that Tina Frey may or may not have interactions with. So I asked this because earlier I said, this might not just be about these 1 or 2 videos, at least that we're seeing right now. When I've said this to you, what is your reaction to that, to this egomaniacal litany or discussion, if you will, of how this could have changed and gone from caring to more of a like the egomaniacal sense? Does that make sense? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Well, sounds like a fantastic closing argument for an appropriate prosecution case. Number one. Number two, once again, what I have to do, regardless of my personal feelings or any other public emotion or anything else, I've got, or public opinion, I've got to determine, my office has to determine if there's an appropriate charge, what the appropriate charge is, and how to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
Regardless of what I personally think, regardless of what my wife thinks, regardless of what the little old lady who lives next door to us um, thinks that that could have happened to her pet bull mastiff that sleeps in the bed with her. Regardless of any of that, I still am required by law to follow the protocol, which is I've got to determine what the appropriate charge is and determine how to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt.
So if there are things that are found, then if you do discover things that are there, when there could be other possibly related charges like, hey, theft, whatever, you might discover these if they exist during your investigation. And if that's the case, something like theft, because again, a lot of allegations out there, these are their words, not yours, not mine.
Right.
A lot of allegations out there about theft. So if that's the case, this might even go to a larger entity, not just your office, but it could, and I'm saying it could because you might find something, it could go to a larger agency, say not just state, possibly a federal investigation, and not just on the animals. I'm saying if there is other information that is discovered in the investigation, which could lead to that level.
First of all, Paul, let me qualify. Number one, that once again, we don't do the investigation. That's the police agency, right? Certainly, if the police agency uncovers in any case any additional evidence of criminal conduct and they make an arrest, we'll do exactly what we do on every other case, like we're going to do on this case. Evaluate the evidence, determine what the appropriate charges are, and determine the appropriate way to prosecute it. So, and essentially, I don't have any. I mean, I've read. I bet I've read everything that you've read, and the I understand where you're coming from. I don't know the answer to any of that. I've not seen any evidence of that. That does not mean it's not. It's there, because frankly, the only evidence I've seen, other than my just discussions with the detectives and with the sheriff, the only evidence, the only thing I've seen are the pictures on the internet.
Right.
That'll change when I get the file.
You said you talked with Sheriff Mark Wood. Are there ongoing conversations with him? Because from one, I know you're prosecuting, and again, I'm just asking you these questions.
Yes, yes.
But he's got his investigation to do, and I'm sure that he has to be aware of other things that he might have to look into, especially given the fact that there's all this feedback. There's so many things. Back in the day when you were either a lawyer or a judge, and I was back in my first year as a reporter in Tyler, Texas, we didn't have all this technology where, one person can investigate this person and, do it in an hour, where back in the day it would take a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now with people doing their investigation. So I would imagine, and again, you're not the sheriff, so that'll be a discussion with him, but anything that people have, that people believe might be worthy to look at for this investigation should be sent to him.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So that would be the discussion then about previous investigations and them being brushed under the rug. That's something that's come out a lot too, directed to Mr. Wood, to Sheriff Wood.
Previous investigations in this matter, or
no, I'm sorry. Previous investigations of how she's been with other people's dogs and such.
Previous investigations with this defendant.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any, I don't know anything about any of that.
Okay. All right. So if anybody has something, then it needs to go to the sheriff's office.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And do you think, because the eyes of the world, and I say that the eyes of the world, meaning especially the animal advocate community, because what's her name? Sadie?
Sadie, yeah.
Sadie is how old?
She's 4.
She's a
golden retriever.
All right. Did you rescue her, or did you get her from somewhere?
No, we got her.
You got her.
So our first golden was a rescue. She lived to be 12, and she passed 4 years ago. And then we picked. Well, they get that breed gets cancer a lot.
Mm-hmm. So I mean I believe you can understand then why folks who are animal advocates, who are very spirited, shall we say,
absolutely,
and when they see things like this, they say, hey, we want you to act, and if you don't act, there's a problem, and we want jail time for this woman. How dare she? And I'm just summarizing, these aren't my words, bits and pieces. But then again, I mean, as someone who I'm going to imagine that Sadie sleeps in your bed, Aja sleeps in my bed, but that has no
she pushes me out every morning. Yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, as much of an animal lover as you are, I mean, the bottom line is your love for animals and the law are two different things. And when I go back to the law, I just want to talk about the director of the Humane Society. And he said he's been there for, I 39 is the number that sticks out in my head. 39 years, because Louisiana has such a bad history when it comes to the treatment of animals, and more so the treatment of those people who abuse or mutilate, kill animals. Is that the case there? Because I know it's the case in many other states as well. That there needs to be more, some people would say, to beef up cases when it comes to animals, because for example, in Texas, animals in the law are still considered property. Does that area where you're at, I mean, not necessarily known for proper treatment of animals, and the proper treatment of cases where animals are involved where they're abused?
Well, that's a bunch of questions at one time, and one of the things that we lawyers do is we're able to limit folks to one question at a time
Okay,
when we're
take your
doing our
question,
business. But
please.
I'll try to answer that the best way that I can.
Mm.
I can. My feeling is that this is obviously a significant case. My feeling is obviously, my personal feeling is I wouldn't want my dog treated that way. Right. That has nothing to do with whether or not I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt a crime was committed. An arrest has been made. It is at this point, it is our intention to go forward with that matter when we receive the file, but I don't know what's in the file.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly suspect that you're going to see, because of the volume of people contacting us in the sheriff's office, I expect that there will be more to investigate. I think that that's obvious myself. Excuse me. But whether or not I personally believe this is repugnant, which I personally do, I still have to be able to ethically and legally prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed a crime. And it's not up to me to decide whether or not they've committed the crime. It's up to me to prosecute them or not. Right. So my office is not the people who arrest, nor is my office the people who sentence or convict. We're trying a murder trial right this minute. It is exactly the same thing. We have to, I mean, the act that happened is horrific. And two of my people are picking a jury right now to try to put a man in prison for the rest of his life for a horrific crime. We have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. He has able counsel. He has some potential defenses. He's going to present those potential defenses to those 12 people that are picked. That's how our system works.
Mm-hmm. So to play devil's advocate here, I'm just saying Tina Fey and her daughter could very well be innocent, because right now they are not convicted.
That's correct. And they could be found not guilty by a jury. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
We win most of them. Some of them we don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them.
And when a person hears that and sees the video, they say, how could that happen? The answer is, it's the law. So if people are not happy with what happened, then the obvious thing, at least in my head, would be help change the law if she's not convicted, and if they didn't like the
result.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We frequently they if they don't understand how a jury could find them not guilty, they've never been to a jury trial. They've never sat through a jury trial or participated in one.
Mm-hmm.
There are many reasons jurors in Louisiana. In fact, Louisiana was one of the only two holdout states in the United States that didn't have unanimous jury verdicts. In other words, we had 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
You could be convicted if it was 10-2. That is no longer the law. The United States Supreme Court struck that down, and our law, the law nationwide, is that we have to get 12 people to agree on a conviction. So once again, and bear in mind that since our court system was shut down for about 18 months during COVID, the murders, rapes, armed robberies kept happening during that time. So we're all of Louisiana and all courts nationwide. Every prosecutor I talk to nationwide has the same issue, overloaded with cases. We have, like I said, I think I told you we have 119 homicides in pretrial in our jail. That doesn't touch the rapes, the armed robberies, the other serious crimes. So, in tremendous tremendous amount of drug crime.
So what
So,
you're saying is you've got this whole backlog of cases, just like all court systems throughout the
and
country.
they're all, and this case is no more or less important to us than any of the other serious cases.
Right. It's just in the order. So especially at a time like this, you're saying because of COVID and because of its lasting effects, especially in the legal system, then you know what, things are happening, but they're not happening like they used to pre-COVID, just
That's
because
correct.
of huge, essentially stoppage, if you will.
And look, and the nothing ever moved fast before. Nothing ever moves fast in any criminal case anywhere. It's not like you see on television. You know, you see Kenda, somebody gets murdered the first of the show, and then by the end of this, about an hour later, it's over. It doesn't work that way because everybody the defense has the right to get ready for trial. To you know, you have to take into account the judge's schedules. You got to take into account the defense lawyer schedules. You know, you know, if the defense lawyer representing somebody has a previously scheduled trial someplace else, it can't go. You know, there are many factors that the public doesn't understand, and I understand that they don't do this every day.
And there's one factor that a lot of the public understands, and they see this video. This is my last question, and just one question, and they see this video as guilt,
Yes.
guilt, and guilt.
Yes.
That is what your job is to make sure that the case, if you go to trial, then to get this prosecuted as Victoria Frey and her daughter are guilty. That's your objective.
Yeah, the fact that you and I think that the video establishes guilt means that we personally think that.
No, well, I mean, it establishes allegations.
It's evidence.
Of abuse. It's evidence.
It's evidence. Yeah, absolutely.
But but again, people don't necessarily understand, because you're held accountable for every single word. I'm held accountable for every single word.
Yes, sir.
Right now, again, that they are still allegations of abuse, and people are like, allegations, how could be? You're seeing this. That's not what a judge has said yet.
That's correct. This is,
and it may be disheartening to a lot of people.
Absolutely,
but truth.
It's the truth, and it's still America, and the law still applies.
Right.
And the purpose for that is that so that the government cannot intrude inappropriately in people's lives.
And people can go ahead, like the owner of Phoenix. Phoenix is Human, the one that was in the middle of Victoria and her daughter. They can actually go ahead and I believe she's doing this. Miss Clowder is getting money together to sue her as well, because these former clients, if you will, can go ahead and now take this and have their lawyer come up against her.
And absolutely. And the standard practice for most district attorneys, and for sure for us, is we have absolutely nothing to do with that. We have nothing to do with their civil case because we don't want to do anything, be
Right.
involved in any way with anything that jeopardizes our prosecution.
Hmm. Is Sheriff Wood, by the way, it's his first term, right? Because you said
Yes,
Sheriff Hilton had been there before. How many terms does a sheriff, kind of sheriff have in your state? In
they're not term limited.
They're not term limited.
That's correct. The previous sheriff, I think, served 4 terms.
4 terms.
Yes,
How
sir.
many years total then?
I'll be 28.
So it's a 7-year commitment. Is that right?
No, sir. It's a 4-year term. I'm
Four
just
years.
saying
I'm
he
sorry.
was elected 4 separate times, I think.
Gotcha, gotcha. Sorry, there's a well-known joke that journalists aren't necessarily good with math. That just proved that just
Nor
proved
am I.
that just proved it right there. So yeah, I was just thinking about, this has got to be a very tough situation, and I'm just thinking out loud right now for the sheriff because the eyes of the nation are on him, and the animal advocates' eyes are on him, and a lot of people are seeing this as an example, if you will, of how animal cases, alleged animal abuse cases could be handled in the future, that this could be a tipping point, if you will, because there have been stories in the past of animal abuse and animal breeding where laws have specifically changed as a direct result of what happened in a specific case and how that's not going to happen again. And the judge has made that.
And absolutely, I'm very mindful of that. Certainly, that however this comes out, certainly public awareness, particularly in this area, is I think is going to be increased. I think that we may have some opportunities for increased regulation in this industry. I don't know. I don't think that there is very much.
Mm-hmm.
We've done our best to research that. Um, there are a lot of people out there who hold themselves out as experts. Um, the definition of an expert to the public may well be different than the definition of an expert in a legal case. Because in order for someone to be an expert, the Supreme Court case, the Daubert case, says that they have to have some specific training in the industry standard. They usually have to have scholarly writing in the field, and generally they have to be qualified the first time. It's a fairly big evidentiary deal to get somebody qualified as an expert witness in court.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nationwide standard. That's a U.S. Supreme Court case that defines what a legal expert is. So just because somebody says, "Hey, look, I'm a dog trainer on the internet, and I think that that's bad, or I think that that's good," that doesn't necessarily mean anything
Mm-hmm.
because evidentially,
Also, too, when you talk about an expert, not just an expert for court, but also an expert when they're out there, like you said. Oh yeah, Tina Frey, Cypress Arrow, they're an expert. She's an expert, on the street, not in the courtroom. Yeah, she's also in, with the so and so Canine Association as well. I mean, but those organizations, should be at least doing their due diligence to make sure, oh yeah, if Tina Frey is looking to get on board with us here as an expert, and we're listing her underneath, underneath our name, so she's connected with us, those organizations, should be really doing their due diligence to make sure they want their name associated with Tina Frey or anyone for that matter.
yes, I can't speak to any of that
Right.
other than to say, just because somebody holds themselves out as an expert or a member of the public believes someone's an expert, that doesn't have anything to do whether or not they're legally qualified as an expert.
Right. A lot of people will say, "Hey, listen, if we," they have said, you know, if this doesn't go anywhere, she's still going to be allowed to train animals. But at the same time, there are other people who say, you know what, with this, you know, and again, I'm thinking out loud. I know you're the prosecutor, the DA, that, you know, that she's, you know, won't be going, that it's essentially over for her, you know, with all this coming to light, these allegations coming to light, that's it. I know you can't comment on that, but those, right? But those are,
No, that's outside of our purview.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are, so it seems like the next conversation will be a good one with Sheriff Wood. All right. Hey, I wish you luck. I thank you for taking the time out to explain to viewers and people how the timeline, how this is working right now, why there can't be an instant rush to convict when we don't know what the outcome is yet. And that's going to take a while. And I believe, was there anything else, some of the main highlights that you got out of
It's
that?
going it it's gonna take the amount of time that a normal criminal case takes. The same with the murder, same with the rape, same with an armed robbery. We're not going to accept a case that uh, that's not properly investigated, because once I take the case, the time clock starts running on me. And
Mhm.
so, if we get a file that's incomplete, we tell them we need A, B, and C before we can do anything. That frequently happens. Police are busy. Sometimes they don't know exactly what the necessary elements are, the proof that we might need. We're going to work with them to do the best that we can to come out with the best resolution in this case. Um, the I think that when we receive the file, I think that I'll be able to tell you more. Although I'm not going to disclose our tactics or our strategy for trying the case. Um, but I will be happy to talk to you again about it once I receive the file.
Yeah, because the eyes of the nation will be on you as well. All right. Hey, I appreciate your time.
And
Yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, and the eyes of my community are on me on every case that where there's strong feelings, murders, um, carjackings, the drive-by shootings. So this is a place that I'm used to being.
Hmm.
So it is what it is, and we will do everything within the bounds of law and our ethical rules to make sure the right result happens.
Hey, it's been an hour. I know you're busy and you got that murder trial
So
downstairs. I appreciate your help, and we'll talk again
thank
soon.
you.
Yeah, thank
Good.
you very much.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
Appreciate it.
All right, man.